October 19th, 1943, 6:42 a.m. San Francisco Bay. A thin mist hangs just above the waterline, soft enough to taste but cold enough to bite. The harbor cranes loom like steel skeletons against a pale orange sunrise. And in the back of a rattling U.S. Army transport truck, 43 captured Kriegsmarine sailors sit in silence, shivering, exhausted, and trying not to show it. Boots scrape, someone coughs, then the truck jolts to a stop. Oberbootsman Friedrich Albrecht, 26 years old and convinced he has already seen the worst the world can offer, grips the wooden bench beneath him. He lifts his eyes just as the tailgate swings open, and a burst of salt air slams into the compartment. "Rouse, move it!" an American MP shouts. Not cruelly, but with the same clipped efficiency of a man who has repeated this order 1,000 times. The prisoners climb down one by one, boots touching American soil for the first time. Their uniforms, faded from long patrols in the Atlantic, look almost out of place here, surrounded by palm trees, warm daylight, and a kind of industrial perfection they've never experienced. Friedrich steps onto the pier and freezes. He can hear it before he sees it, a metallic thunder, sparks, hammering so rapid and synchronized it sounds like a single massive heartbeat, the sound of American repair crews at work. Across the harbor, surrounded by scaffolding and a swarm of welders, sits a battered yet unmistakable hull, the USS O'Bannon, a Fletcher-class destroyer that should be lying dead at the bottom of the Pacific. Instead, it looks alive. A crane swings a twisted section of steel off the deck. Teams with torches cut away damaged plating. Sparks explode in bright fountains. It's chaos, but it is coordinated chaos, something the Germans were never trained to expect. Friedrich narrows his eyes. Destroyers like this don't get repaired in days. In the Kriegsmarine yards at Kiel or Wilhelmshaven, even minor damage leads to weeks of waiting, missing parts, and paper-stamped delays. A vessel hit as badly as this one, scored hull, blast damage, ruptured bulkheads, would be docked for months, possibly longer. But here the repair crews move with the speed of an emergency surgery team. The prisoners are marched along the fence line. The Americans aren't hiding their work. There's no need. Efficiency itself is a weapon. Giant warehouse doors slide open. More workers stream out. Some carry equipment Friedrich has never seen before. Portable electric welders, pneumatic chisels, modular plate sections pre-cut and ready to be installed. Pre-cut. He looks again. They aren't shaping steel on the dock. They shaped it before the ship even arrived. As the guards lead the column toward the camp entrance, one of the younger sailors, Mattis, whispers through clenched teeth, "Das ist unmöglich." It can't be real. Friedrich doesn't answer, because he is thinking the same thing. Last week, the Americans dragged their U-boat, U-612, toward a naval base for inspection. They had seen U.S. crews working fast, but this is something else entirely. This is speed measured, not in days, but in hours. A sudden blast of steam echoes across the harbor. Sparks whirl like fireflies. A massive section of deck plating, lifted by a crane, slides into place with almost unnatural precision. Friedrich takes a step closer to the fence, unable to look away. He remembers the bomb damage reports from the Solomons. The O'Bannon took a brutal hit, close enough that the crew evacuated, wounded under fire. Stories spread fast among sailors. Destroyers didn't survive that kind of punishment. Yet here it is, not only alive, but being reborn right in front of them. A guard notices the German staring and chuckles. "She'll be good as new by the weekend," he says, casually adjusting his helmet. "Navy wants her back out there." Friedrich almost laughs. Not from humor, from disbelief so strong it borders on fear. The Americans say it like it's normal. Like repairing a destroyer in 4 days is simply part of the job. One of the older German NCOs, a grizzled engine room veteran named Westerman, mutters under his breath, "In Kiel, this would take 12 weeks, maybe more." He shakes his head. His voice is small, shaken, as if the harbor itself is challenging everything he thought he understood about warfare. What kind of country can work like this, he asks, to no one in particular. But Friedrich hears something else in his question. Not curiosity, not admiration, something darker, a quiet, growing realization. If the Americans can repair a destroyer this fast, what else can they do? The guards push the prisoners forward through the gate, the clang of metal closing behind them. But Friedrich keeps his eyes on the O'Bannon until the last possible second, watching as another swarm of welders climbs onto her deck, like ants rebuilding a machine 1,000 times their size. The last thing he sees is a spray of sparks illuminating the ship's hull. The last thing he hears is that relentless heartbeat of hammers. And the last thing he feels is a cold pit forming in his stomach, because deep down he knows Germany is not fighting the American Navy. Germany is fighting American speed, a battle no nation has ever won. And tomorrow morning, Friedrich will witness something that shakes him even more. October 20th, 1943, 5:11 a.m. The camp is still half asleep when the first siren wails from the shipyards. It's not an alarm, it's a beginning, a signal, a declaration that thousands of hands are already awake and moving. Friedrich blinks into the dim morning light. He hasn't slept well. His mind kept replaying the scene at the harbor, the sparks, the clang of metal, the impossible speed. Now, as he steps out of the barracks with a tin cup of watery coffee, he hears that heartbeat again. Hammering, drills, engines, a symphony of work. He walks to the fence, as several other POWs already have, drawn like iron filings to a magnet. And there it is, the USS O'Bannon, now lit by floodlights, as if the night never existed at all. Except something is different. The scaffolding around the destroyer has doubled. Welding crews crawl across the hull in shifting constellations of blue-white flame. Long chains of workers carry materials in perfect rhythm, like a living assembly line. Friedrich rubs his eyes. This can't be real. Ships are built slowly, painfully, piece by piece, like growing a steel tree. He spent years around the docks at Kiel. He knows what normal looks like. This is not normal. A group of American civilians in overalls passes by the fence, lunch pails swinging. One of them, tall, red-haired, smiling despite the early hour, nods to the prisoners. "Morning, fellas," he says, like he's greeting neighbors, not enemy sailors. Friedrich is too stunned to respond. Mattis elbows him. "They don't even hate us," he whispers. "How can they work like this while fighting a war?" The question hangs in the air. A guard strolls over, leaning casually on the fence. "You boys watching the show again?" he asks. "She'll have fresh plates, a new keel section, and half her wiring redone by tonight." Friedrich feels his stomach twist. He remembers Westerman's words yesterday. 12 weeks, maybe more. Now the Americans are talking about hours. "Impossible," Westerman mutters, coming up behind them. "It is simply impossible." But the evidence is right there. Friedrich watches as a massive, prefabricated plate, large enough to cover an entire section of hull, is lowered into place by a crane. It fits with uncanny accuracy, sliding to alignment, like a puzzle piece carved by someone who already knew exactly where it belonged. The Germans collectively inhale. Prefabrication on this scale, pre-cut steel sections, ready before the ship even arrived. Coordinated teams working in shifts so tight, there's no second wasted. He looks around. No one seems amazed except the Germans. For the Americans, this is routine. And that is what terrifies Friedrich most. One of the POWs, a younger machinist named Ludger, speaks quietly. "Everything we did at home, all of it, it was hand-built, slowly, carefully. But this," he gestures toward the shipyard, "this is like watching a machine repair itself." The guard laughs. "That's the Navy Yard for you," he says. "We've got 42,000 workers on rotation. There's always someone awake." 42,000. Friedrich has to steady himself against the fence. Kiel Naval Yard, one of Germany's largest, never had numbers like that, not even close. A siren sounds again. Another shift starts. Hundreds of fresh workers file in, moving like a river of denim and helmets. Friedrich can't look away. You can almost feel the energy radiating from them, the urgency, the precision, the sense that every person knows exactly what to do and how to do it fast. This isn't desperation. This isn't improvisation. This is momentum, American momentum. As welders crawl across the destroyer, the rising sun begins reflecting off the water, illuminating the O'Bannon's patched hull. The scars are disappearing. The damage is fading. The ship is coming back to life. Westerman murmurs, "If they can repair this, what else can they produce faster than we can destroy it?" No one answers. They all know the truth. After a few minutes, the guard steps away, but Friedrich stays at the fence watching. He notices something that freezes him in place. The ship's line on the water has changed. Yesterday, it sagged slightly at the stern from the blast damage. Today, it sits evenly, balanced, stabilized. That means the internal bulkheads, those deep inside the ship's structure, have already been repaired. It means crews have been inside the hull through the night, in the dark, in cramped steel corridors still hot from welding, cutting away warped frames, replacing them, reinforcing them. One night, one single night, Mattis whispers, voice trembling, "We are not fighting an army, Friedrich. We are fighting an entire nation." Friedrich doesn't look away from the ship. His throat tightens as a crane lowers another section of the deck, Sparks erupt in a new burst of light. And then something happens that chills him more than anything yet. The O'Bannon's engines cough. Once on, twice, then growl. The destroyer is powering up. Friedrich's breath catches. A ship that took catastrophic damage is already alive enough to test her systems. This cannot be happening. But it is. And tomorrow morning, something even more impossible will unfold before their eyes. Something that will make every German sailor in the camp go silent. October 21st, 1943, 6:03 a.m. A thick morning fog rolls across the harbor, muffling the sounds of grinding metal and turning them into a distant hum, like the breathing of some enormous creature waking up. The German POWs gather at the fence again, drawn by instinct now, unable to resist witnessing what the Americans will do next. Friedrich steps forward, hands tight on the wire. He can feel something different in the air. Yesterday, the O'Bannon looked damaged but recovering. Today, through the fog, he can barely tell where the destroyed sections used to be. The silhouette, once jagged, uneven, wounded, now looks whole again, reshaped by thousands of hands working without rest. Mattis stands beside him, silent. Westerman limps over a moment later, jaw clenched, eyes fixed on the vessel. And then the fog breaks, just a little, and the Germans see something that makes their stomachs drop. The destroyer isn't surrounded by scaffolding anymore. Much of it has been removed overnight. That means only one thing. The welds, plates, beams, and deck reinforcements have already passed inspection. The Americans aren't just fixing the ship. They are finishing it. A sudden shout echoes across the yard. "Clear the dock! Move it!" A horn blasts. The water trembles. Then the O'Bannon shifts. Not much, just a few inches, but enough. Enough to tell Friedrich and every man beside him that the destroyer is preparing to move under her own power. Ludger stumbles backward. "Nine, that isn't possible. She was torn open." Westerman shakes his head, eyes wide. There wasn't even time for paint to dry. But the Americans don't pause. They move with purpose. Dock workers unhook power cables. Engineers pull away temporary braces. A tugboat inches into position, ready to guide the destroyer into deeper harbor water. Friedrich's heart thuds. 2 days ago, this ship looked like scrap. Now she looks ready for sea trials. The guards take notice of the German shock. One of them, Freeman, a tall man with a calm voice, leans casually on the fence, chewing gum. "She'll be out by Friday," he says. "Commander wants her back in the Solomons ASAP." The Solomon. Back to the front. Back into battle. Mathis's jaw falls open. She is returning to combat already. Freeman shrugs. Navy doesn't like waiting. Westerman nearly laughs, but it isn't humor, just disbelief. In the Kriegsmarine, a destroyer hit like that would be lucky to sail again in a year. Freeman spits his gum into a paper wrapper. "That's why you boys lost your boat and we didn't lose ours." It's a simple line. Not cruel, not mocking. Just matter of fact. And that makes it sting even more. A whistle screams. A burst of steam erupts from the O'Bannon stack. The engines rumble to life again, stronger than before. The water around the stern churns violently. Friedrich grabs the fence with both hands. His pulse spikes. This cannot be real. You cannot resurrect a destroyer in 4 days. Not without sacrificing safety, stability, or sanity. But the ship isn't struggling. She isn't wobbling. She isn't groaning like a damaged hull forced back to duty. She stands tall, straight, balanced, alive. The fog clears further, revealing the gleaming new plating along her sides. The patches almost shine in the morning light, still fresh, still unpainted, but aligned perfectly. Ludger whispers, "How many men worked on her?" Freeman answers without hesitation. "Last count, about 900. 900. In Germany, a team of 50 struggled to maintain a destroyer. 900 workers would belong to an entire shipyard, not a single repair job. And they replaced bulkheads, deck plating, wiring, engine coupling brackets, all in under 90 hours. Friedrich feels the truth settle in his bones like ice. He had thought America's strength was numbers. He had thought America's advantage was fuel or steel or aircraft carriers. But now he sees the real weapon, speed. Not the kind built from desperation. The kind built from overwhelming manpower, industry, and confidence. The kind that absorbs a crisis and answers it with action before the enemy even understands what happened. A bell rings. The tugs tighten their ropes. The O'Bannon begins to move, slowly, silently, with the steady grace of a ship that refuses to die. The Germans all press closer to the fence. A few even reach through the wire. No one speaks. The destroyer glides through the harbor water, her bow cutting a clean path toward the testing berth. Workers follow along the pier, checking her alignment. Friedrich's breath shakes. He feels something he has not felt before. Not dread, not fear, but the heavy, crushing knowledge that he has seen the future. And in that future, Germany cannot win. The Americans shout commands in rapid succession. The ship pivots, revealing its starboard side. The Germans gasp aloud. The damage is gone, not repaired. Gone, as if the battle in the Solomons never happened at all. Westermann swallows hard. If they can do this with one destroyer, what will they do with a fleet? Friedrich doesn't answer. Because even as the O'Bannon settles into her testing position, he hears trucks arriving behind them. Engines rumble, crates slam down. Men shout orders. More materials, more prefabricated plates, more welding gear. And then Friedrich sees it through a gap in the crates being unloaded. Another damaged vessel approaching. Another destroyer. Another wounded giant. The Americans aren't finished. This repair was only the beginning. October 21st, 1943, 10:47 a.m. The murmur begins at the far end of the camp. Short, confused whispers rippling through the rows of prisoners like a cold breeze. Friedrich hears it before he sees anything. A low thrum of voices carrying a single, unmistakable emotion. Fear. Not of the guards, not of punishment, but of realization. Mattis jogs toward the fence, breath sharp. Friedrich, you need to see this. Friedrich pushes through the cluster of POWs already crowding the wire. And then he sees it, and his heartbeat stops for a full second. Another warship, another American destroyer, scarred, scorched, its deck gouged open in places, being escorted into the same docking lane the O'Bannon left just hours ago. The American workers barely look surprised. The tugboat captains wave directions with the calm precision of men guiding a familiar guest, and the cranes rotate as if they'd been waiting. Friedrich's throat tightens. They are ready for this. They expected this. Westermann arrives, panting. A second one? Already? The older machinist shakes his head in disbelief. In Kiel, if a second destroyer came in while the first was still damaged, the entire yard would collapse under the workload. They all watch as the new ship, the USS Radford, another Fletcher class, edges into position. Her hull bears the deep scars from a recent torpedo hit. The blast tore open plates like torn bark on a tree, exposing the ribs beneath. Mattis whispers, that would take months, but the Americans don't hesitate. Before the ship is even fully moored, teams of welders assemble at the ready. Electric cables are dragged across the dock. Prefabricated steel sheets lie stacked on trucks, already labeled with chalk measurements, not for this ship specifically, but for any ship. That's when Friedrich notices something that unnerves him more than anything. The stack of prefabricated plates outside the yard is enormous. Not dozens, not hundreds, thousands available, waiting, prepared before damage even arrives. Dear God, Fletcher breathes. They do not build repairs for ships. They mass produce them. Friedrich's mind reels. The Germans repair ships one piece at a time, shaped by craftsmen on site, each plate hammered to fit. But here the plates seem almost universal, modular, ready to slide into place like components in a machine. This isn't ship repair. This is industrial surgery. A guard strolls by, noticing their stares. Radford caught a nasty hit of Vela La Vela, he says casually. But she'll be good to go soon enough. How soon? Westermann asks before he can stop himself. The guard considers. Maybe 6 days, maybe less. 6 days for a torpedo destroyer. Westermann steps back as if struck. Friedrich can see the panic under the older sailor's calm facade. He had spent his whole career believing German engineering was the pinnacle of precision. But precision without speed is a myth, a museum piece, a dead concept, and the Americans are proving it every hour. The sun burns away the last of the fog as crews swarm the Radford. Within minutes, the ship is engulfed in the familiar constellation of welding sparks. Scaffolding rises around her like a skeleton made of steel and confidence. Friedrich feels a chill. You see it, he murmurs to Mattis. See what? Their fearlessness. They aren't afraid of damage. They expect it. They prepare for it before it happens. Mattis nods slowly. Like a boxer who already knows how he'll stand up after every punch. Friedrich keeps his eyes on the workers. Endless teams, endless shifts, endless energy. The realization settles like iron in his chest. You cannot defeat an enemy who recovers faster than you can strike. Across the harbor, the O'Bannon lets out a long blast from her horn. Powerful, confident, alive. The fully repaired destroyer glides gracefully into open water for her sea trials. The Germans stare as she sails past the damaged Radford. 2 ships, 2 stories, one reborn, one being reborn. The symbolism is brutal. As the O'Bannon disappears beyond the docks, the camp falls silent. Even the guards don't bother breaking the moment. They know the prisoners are coming face to face with a truth worth more than any interrogation report. Then from somewhere behind the POW group, a young German sailor finally breaks. His voice cracks. Was ist der Sinn? What is the point anymore? No one answers him. Instead, another sound rings out. Two sharp blasts from a distant whistle. Workers cheer. A crane operator pumps his fist. The Germans rush to the fence again. They expect some small progress on the Radford, but not this. Not yet. Not so soon. Because a new team has already begun replacing an entire starboard frame, one of the ship's largest structural elements. The crane lowers the frame in a single colossal piece, perfectly shaped, perfectly aligned. It slides in like it belongs there. Mattis stares. How can they shape steel so fast? Friedrich answers quietly, voice hollow. They shaped it before the ship was hit. The truth strikes all of them in the same moment. The Americans don't react to war. They prepare for it. They prepare so fast that damage loses its meaning. But the real shock hasn't arrived yet, because the Americans are about to demonstrate something even more impossible. Something none of the Germans imagined a human workforce could do. Something that will make Friedrich question everything he has ever believed about warfare, industry, and the future of the war itself. And it will happen before sunrise the next morning. October 22nd, 1943, 4:58. The first light of dawn barely scratches the horizon, but the shipyard is already alive. Friedrich blinks against the glare of floodlights bouncing off steel hulls. He has lost count of how many times he has seen sparks flying, welders crawling across twisted metal, and teams hauling enormous prefabricated plates into place. Yet somehow, each morning, the scene feels even more impossible than the day before. He leans against the cold fence, feeling the metal bite through his gloves. Around him, the other POWs whisper, their words brittle with disbelief. The O'Bannon has already sailed a trial run yesterday, proving she is fully operational. Yet the Radford, still scorched from a torpedo hit just days ago, is nearly whole again. A whistle shrieks. Hundreds of hands move in perfect unison. Cranes pivot, sparks erupt, and the air vibrates with the sound of metal being reshaped. Friedrich notices something that makes him catch his breath. Sections of deck plating, bulkheads, and even internal stairways are being installed simultaneously by separate teams on opposite sides of the ship. Yet no one interferes with anyone else. Coordination like this, mutters Westerman, voice trembling. We'd need weeks just to plan it. Mattis swallows hard. And they do it without hesitation, without mistakes. Friedrich nods, eyes wide. He can almost feel the rhythm of the operation. The Americans aren't rushing. They are moving in a cadence, a pulse, a perfect orchestration of manpower and preparation. Every action seems pre-calculated, yet spontaneous. And then it hits him. This is what winning looks like. Not just tanks, planes, or battles, but the ability to undo damage faster than it occurs. To turn chaos into triumph with sheer human precision. The Germans notice an even stranger sight. A group of engineers moves inside the Radford's engine room. The bulkhead had been shattered in the torpedo strike, and yet the men inside are welding, adjusting piping, and testing the engines all at the same time. The destroyer systems, electrical, hydraulic, propulsion, are coming back to life as if it were being assembled for the first time. Friedrich's jaw tightens. One night, he mutters. They fix one ship overnight, and now two. Westerman's eyes dart toward the Radford. It's not repair anymore. It's manufacturing at impossible speed. This isn't just industry. This is magic made real. The Germans step back instinctively, as if the sheer energy radiating from the shipyard is a physical force. They see welders move from deck to deck, plate to plate, without pause. Cranes swing sections of steel like puzzle pieces. Electric torches glow like mini suns, tracing intricate patterns on the hull. Even the air smells different. Hot metal, ozone, and the faint tang of victory. Suddenly, a loud blast echoes across the yard, the Radford's horn. She moves slightly under her own power for the first time. The water roils as her propellers cut clean paths, testing balance and steering. The Germans gasp. Friedrich grips the fence so tightly his knuckles whiten. She's alive, Mattis swallows audibly. Alive, like the O'Bannon, and ready before we even knew she could be. Westerman shakes his head in disbelief. In Germany, this would take a year, at least a year. Months of planning, manpower, and waiting for parts. Here, less than 4 days. Less than 4 days for one ship. Less than a week for two. Friedrich looks at the horizon. The harbor stretches, filled with cranes, warehouses, and a seemingly endless army of workers. Ships waiting for repairs or already being fitted with prefabricated parts dot the water like chess pieces. He realizes something terrifying. This is not a single operation. This is a system, a machine, a nation working in unison. His mind races. How can a country fight a war when its ability to recover is faster than the enemy's ability to strike. Germany can sink a ship, bomb a port, destroy a convoy, but by the time they tally losses, the Americans will already be one step ahead. The POWs fall silent, each man wrestling with the same impossible truth. Friedrich feels it settle deep in his chest, a weight he cannot lift. And then it happens. A new crane swings a massive structure over the Radford. The scale is staggering. A prefabricated midship section, nearly the size of a small building, poised to be lowered into place. Friedrich staggers back. Mattis whispers almost inaudibly. They prepared this before the damage occurred. Friedrich can only nod, words failing him. The Americans work as though time itself bends to their will. The Radford shudders slightly as the massive piece slides into place, crew members guiding it perfectly. Sparks rain down. The roar of welding masks the sound of the harbor. But Friedrich hears it all, the hum of engines, the hiss of torches, the clank of steel. It's deafening, unstoppable. Westermann mutters, voice trembling. We cannot match this, ever. Friedrich's stomach twists. The realization is absolute. The Germans are not just facing American ships. They are facing American speed, foresight, and industrial rhythm combined into a weapon no torpedo can sink. The O'Bannon and Radford are no longer ships. They are symbols, proof, evidence of a system that Germany cannot hope to compete with. And then Friedrich sees movement in the distance. Another destroyer, damaged in a recent engagement, being towed toward the same docks. The POWs freeze. More steel, more manpower. Another vessel, ready to be rebuilt, faster than Germany could dream. Friedrich swallows hard. His voice catches. This is endless, and he is right, because the Americans aren't stopping. They are only beginning. Tomorrow, Friedrich will witness the final demonstration of industrial might that will leave every German sailor in the camp silent and change the way he sees the war forever. October 23rd, 1943, 7:12 a.m. The fog is gone. The morning sun glints off steel and water, painting the San Francisco Bay in gold and shadow. Friedrich leans against the wire fence once again, stomach tight, eyes fixed on the O'Bannon, now slicing through the harbor for a second seat trial. Behind her, the Radford is almost complete, her damaged hull unrecognizable beneath new plates, braces, and reinforcements. Cranes swing, sparks fly, and hundreds of American workers move as if choreographed. It's not chaos, it's ballet, precision in motion, born of repetition and preparation. Friedrich's jaw aches from clenching. Westermann mutters beside him, voice hoarse. We have trained all our lives to fight wars at sea, but we never imagined a country could fight like this. Mattis doesn't speak. He can't. He watches the prefabricated midship section of the Radford being lowered with surgical accuracy, sliding into place as if it had always belonged there. Engineers run diagnostic checks, testing engines, electrical systems, and weaponry, all simultaneously. Then, for the first time, Friedrich fully understands what he is seeing. This is not ship repair. This is a weapon beyond battle tactics. This is industrial power made visible, moving faster than any torpedo, shell, or aerial bomb. He glances at the other POWs. Their faces mirror his disbelief. The younger sailors turn pale. Even the older men, hardened veterans who have faced storms, torpedoes, and fire, look shell-shocked. A guard notices the silence and smirks. It's what happens when you have a nation behind every bolt, every plate, every hand. Friedrich swallows. The weight of the truth presses down like iron. He has spent years learning naval warfare, strategy, firepower, armor, positioning, and yet none of it prepared him for this. None of it could compete with speed, coordination, and sheer industrial rhythm. Westermann's voice breaks the silence. If they can repair 2 ships in days, what happens after 10, 20, 50? Friedrich feels the chill again creeping into his bones. Germany cannot match this. Germany cannot hope to destroy, replace, or even slow down a nation capable of operating at this tempo. He remembers the Solomons, the blast damage to the O'Bannon, the months of waiting that would have been necessary in Kiel. And now, the ship is already performing sea trials, alive, whole, ready. Mattis whispers, barely audible. It's not just the shipyards, it's the system, everything. Factories, logistics, the men trained to move at this pace. It's a weapon in itself. Friedrich's head swims. He watches as a third vessel, scarred and battered from the Pacific Theater, is towed toward the docks. More cranes swing into position. More sparks erupt. More workers swarm. Prefabricated plates are readied in advance. Another destroyer. Another demonstration. Another confirmation of the same unthinkable truth. Friedrich leans back, trembling. His chest feels tight, as if the rhythm of the shipyard itself is pressing down on him. The realization realization hits him like a torpedo. Germany is not just facing the American Navy. They are facing American industry incarnate. The O'Bannon blasts her horn again, a deep, confident sound that echoes across the bay. Friedrich can feel it in his bones. It is the sound of inevitability, the sound of power that cannot be outrun. Westermann's voice is barely audible. We thought we knew what war looked like, and now we see it differently. Friedrich looks at the horizon, ships waiting, workers preparing, cranes swinging in perfect cadence. It's endless. There is no pause, no hesitation, no shortage. The Americans can destroy, rebuild, and strike again faster than Germany can respond, faster than Germany can even comprehend. A young POW whispers, voice shaking. We can't fight that. Friedrich does not answer. He cannot, because he knows the truth they all fear to speak aloud. This is the moment Germany begins to lose. Not on the battlefield, but in the dockyards, in the factories, in the rhythm of a nation that refuses to stop. And then, as if to confirm it, the O'Bannon pivots gracefully, bow cutting through the water, engines growling. The Radford shudders slightly as her new engines ignite. Sparks fly from welding torches in synchronized bursts. A new prefabricated section is hoisted into place before the Germans' eyes. It is no longer a demonstration. It is a lesson in speed, coordination, and inevitability. Friedrich swallows hard. His stomach twists. He realizes the weight of it. This is a system Germany cannot match. A machine no torpedo can sink. A power no single battle can break. And in the next moments, when the first test runs of the Radford begin, the POWs will witness something that will cement the truth forever. Something that will make every German sailor in the camp understand with absolute certainty that the tides of war are no longer measured by courage or guns, but by a rhythm, a speed, and an industrial heartbeat they cannot hope to match. Friedrich exhales slowly, eyes glued to the Radford. And just as he begins to take in the scope of what's happening, a sudden, ear-splitting blast rings out from the far end of the dock. Everyone freezes. The work does not stop. The crews barely flinch. But Friedrich's heart leaps. Something is about to happen. Something the Germans will never forget that October 23rd, 1943. 8:36 a.m. Friedrich and the other POWs lean against the fence, tension thick in the cold morning air. Across the harbor, the Radford is fully prepared, her hull gleaming under the sun, the scars of war seemingly erased. The cranes retract, welders step back, and engineers climb to the decks. Every hand on deck and dock seems to breathe in unison, readying for what the Americans call a shakedown run. Friedrich swallows hard. He remembers the O'Bannon's trial yesterday, how the repaired destroyer sailed with unshakable precision. But even that does not prepare him for what he is about to witness. A tugboat releases the lines. The Radford shifts, slowly at first, then with controlled acceleration. Her propellers churn the water with machine-like perfection. Sparks from welding torches are still visible on deck. Yet the engines hum with full confidence. Friedrich can't help but step closer. The entire German contingent presses against the fence, eyes wide, mouths dry. The thought occurs to them simultaneously. This ship is moving as if it had never been damaged at all. Westermann mutters under his breath, voice trembling. We couldn't even have imagined this. Not in Kiel, not anywhere. Mathis, pale, whispers, it's not just repaired, it's perfected. Friedrich's gaze follows the Radford as she cuts a smooth path across the harbor, turning sharply to test steering, acceleration, and engine synchronization. Every turn is precise, every correction seamless. He notices that crew members on deck are simultaneously monitoring gauges, adjusting new wiring, and running drills. Nothing is amiss. Nothing is uncertain. Then Friedrich's heart skips. A sudden burst of smoke from the Radford's starboard exhaust. Normal, he assumes. But the American engineers pay it no mind. Within seconds, the smoke dissipates. The destroyer steadies herself perfectly, as if she was never harmed in the first place. He glances at Westermann. The older sailor's hands are clenched into fists. His knuckles are white, but his face betrays the full weight of realization. If they can do this, he says slowly, they can do it again and again and again, every single time. The significance hits Friedrich like a tidal wave. They have seen the impossible twice already, O'Bannon and Radford, and now they are witnessing it in motion. The Americans are not repairing ships. They are demonstrating a capability no enemy can match. A young POW nudges Friedrich, voice quivering. Friedrich, why are they not afraid? Why does it seem effortless? Friedrich looks at the Radford. Sparks still glow faintly from welding torches, yet the ship is gliding perfectly. The answer hits him. The Americans have prepared for this damage before it occurred. Every frame, plate, and bolt has a purpose, a place, and a schedule. This is not improvisation. This is anticipation made real. The O'Bannon, returning from her own trial run, passes the Radford. The two ships move like twins, reborn, unstoppable, synchronized. The sight is overwhelming. Even the guards momentarily fall silent, watching the display of industrial and mechanical mastery. Friedrich feels a cold pit in his stomach. Germany has fought many battles in the Atlantic, but none of those lessons matter here. All of their training, all of their cunning, all of their efforts, it is meaningless against a system that repairs, rebuilds, and redeploys faster than any attack can destroy. Then a crane lifts a massive, new deck section toward the Radford. Friedrich freezes as he sees the scale. It's larger than anything they could imagine being moved, yet it fits perfectly into the ship in seconds. Sparks fly, and workers guide it effortlessly into place. Mathis whispers, voice shaking. It's like watching a miracle. Westerman turns, eyes wide. No, this is not magic. It's a weapon, industrial rhythm. The war, it's already being fought in factories and docks. Friedrich swallows hard, realizing the depth of it. The Americans are not merely repairing their losses. They are creating a machine of war so fast, so efficient, that destruction itself cannot keep up. Then the unimaginable happens. The Radford's guns are tested in sequence while the ship is still in harbor. Fire control, hydraulics, electrical circuits, they all respond perfectly. The Germans gasp. A destroyer torpedoed days ago now demonstrates full combat readiness in front of them. Friedrich's pulse quickens. He glances at Mattis, eyes meeting in silent agreement. We are witnessing something we cannot fight, Friedrich mutters. Westerman's voice drops to a whisper, almost to himself. If this is the standard, Germany stands no chance. A horn blasts from the Radford. A new crew takes positions. The ship begins a rapid sequence of maneuvers, each more daring than the last, demonstrating stability, engine power, and readiness. Every POW is rooted to the spot, watching the impossible unfold. And then, as the Radford completes a perfect pivot, Friedrich notices something that stops his heart cold. A third vessel being towed into the docks, damaged, battered, ready for the same process. The Americans barely pause. Another cycle begins. Friedrich swallows hard, voice trembling. It never ends. It never stops. Westerman claps a hand to his forehead, jaw tight. We are not fighting their navy anymore, he says. We are fighting their nation. And Friedrich realizes with a chilling clarity that he has seen the turning point. The moment when Germany's industrial advantage, already shrinking, collides with the unstoppable momentum of American industry. Something extraordinary, something no human foresight could fully anticipate, is about to be revealed as the third ship enters the repair cycle. The Germans hold their breath, eyes wide, hearts pounding. And in that silence, Friedrich knows the scale of what is coming will leave them speechless. October 24th, 1943, 5:24 a.m. The POWs arrive at the fence once more, each step heavier than the last. Their minds are still reeling from the previous days. O'Bannon reborn, Radford restored, engines roaring, guns firing, and hulls straightened with surgical precision. Yet today is different. Today, the scale of what they are witnessing will finally hit them like a physical blow. A massive tugboat steams into the harbor, hauling another battered destroyer. Friedrich squints through the pale dawn light. The vessel is scarred almost beyond recognition. Her bow twisted from a near miss, decks scorched, bulkheads torn. She should be a hulk. She should be waiting months for repair. But the Americans do not hesitate. Cranes pivot, welders climb, engineers spread across the decks like ants on a giant hive. Prefabricated plates, beams, and internal frames are already staged on trucks along the pier, labeled and ready for immediate installation. The Germans' jaws tighten with disbelief. Westerman mutters, voice trembling. This is beyond repair. No human could assemble all of this so quickly. Friedrich shakes his head. They don't call it repair. It's industrial resurrection. Workers move in synchronized bursts. Sparks fly. Massive steel sections are lifted and guided into place with almost supernatural precision. Inside the ship, engineers test wiring, pumps, and engines simultaneously, while welders finish plates on the outer hull. It is orchestration perfected, and the Germans feel the weight of it crushing their understanding of naval warfare. A young POW whispers, How How can they do this over and over? Every ship, every time. Friedrich swallows. He has been asking himself the same question for 3 days. Now, watching the third destroyer, he begins to understand. It's not just manpower. It's planning, preparation, and a system that anticipates damage before it happens. Prefabrication, coordination, and relentless speed have become weapons themselves. The first welds ignite. The sound is deafening yet precise. Each spark timed, each flame controlled. Friedrich feels the rhythm in his chest, like a drumbeat, dictating the impossible pace of American industry. He realizes something terrifying. If one country can work like this, then no tactical advantage, no surprise attack, no storm at sea can ever slow them down. Westerman clutches the fence, his face pale. We can't fight this. Not in combat, not in dockyards, not ever. The third destroyer's engines cough to life. Flames of exhaust spill into the air. Friedrich watches, frozen, as the ship stabilizes in the harbor. She moves under her own power, responding to every command, every shift in rudder flawlessly. The POWs exchange silent, wide-eyed glances. Mattis whispers, voice trembling. It's alive. Already. Alive. Friedrich nods, swallowing hard. The O'Bannon and Radford had shown them the limits of speed and efficiency. But this is the full scale. A system capable of absorbing any damage, repairing any ship, and redeploying fleets faster than any enemy could destroy them. The Germans realize in that silent, frozen moment that they are not witnessing mere repairs. They are witnessing a force multiplier beyond comprehension. A weapon that requires no guns to be devastating. The harbor is alive. Cranes pivot, workers swarm, sparks fly. Ships move with calculated precision. Engines roar, welding torches hiss. The rhythm is relentless. Every second counts. Every hand knows its place. Every movement is measured. Friedrich steps back, heart pounding. He looks at Westerman. We are not fighting the American Navy anymore. Westerman shakes his head, jaw tight. No, we're fighting the industrial heart of a nation. And then, as if to hammer the point home, the third destroyer slides perfectly into place at the dock. The prefabricated midship sections are lowered and guided into position. Sparks explode in a brilliant display of controlled chaos. Every seam is welded, every frame aligned, every engine pump tested. In less than 4 hours, the vessel looks whole again, ready for deployment. The POWs are silent. Mattis presses a hand to his forehead. It's impossible, he whispers. Friedrich doesn't answer. He knows the truth. Germany's efforts, her tactics, her strategies, all are dwarfed by a system that works faster than destruction itself. Then a horn blasts from the newly repaired destroyer. Engines roar. Cranes swing back into position. Floodlights illuminate another section of the harbor, another damaged vessel approaching. The Americans barely pause. The rhythm continues. The system continues. The work never stops. Friedrich swallows hard, chest tight. The magnitude of it hits him in full. This is not repair. This is war, fought at a speed, scale, and precision that Germany cannot match. Not on the seas, not in the factories, not in the docks. Westerman mutters, voice barely audible. We are witnessing the future of war, and we have no part in it. Friedrich's gaze drifts over the entire harbor. O'Bannon, Radford, the third destroyer. More cranes, more workers, more ships waiting. Endless. A cold realization sets in. This industrial power will not be stopped by bullets or torpedoes. It will outpace every attack. It will rebuild faster than Germany can destroy. It will define the outcome of the war itself. And then, as Friedrich turns back to watch, a new arrival catches his eye. A fourth ship, even larger, more battered than the rest, being towed toward the docks. The POWs stiffen, their faces pale, their minds reel. Because if the first 3 ships were astonishing, what they are about to witness next will shatter everything they thought possible. October 24th, 1943, 7:11 a.m. Friedrich feels a cold sweat trickle down his back as he squints toward the distant pier. The fourth ship is massive, a cruiser, not a destroyer, and she's been badly damaged in the Solomons. Hull twisted, deck scorched, the bow partially blown open. Every POW freezes in place, their collective disbelief almost tangible. Westerman's lips move, but no sound comes out. Mattis swallows audibly, his eyes wide and unblinking. Friedrich can feel the air itself thicken, as if the harbor is holding its breath. The Americans, however, do not hesitate. There is no hesitation, no pause, no glance of doubt. They move with the same precision, the same rhythm, the same unwavering confidence they have shown with the 3 destroyers before her. Cranes pivot into position, and prefabricated plates and frames, already cut, labeled, and staged, begin to move toward the cruiser. Welders climb her hull, sparks erupting in brilliant arcs, illuminating the twisted steel. Engineers descend into her gutted compartments, testing engines, rewiring systems, checking hydraulics, all while plates are being hoisted into place on deck. Friedrich swallows hard. He cannot believe what he is seeing. They are going to repair that cruiser in days. Westermann shakes his head slowly, voice tight. Impossible. It cannot be done. Not in Germany. Not anywhere in the world. Yet the evidence is undeniable. The massive ship responds as though she is already alive. Sections of her deck are aligned perfectly before being welded into place. The hull flexes under the weight of cranes, yet remains steady, unbroken, resilient. Mattis whispers, almost to himself, it's like watching a city rebuild itself while still under fire. Friedrich feels a wave of terror. The first three ships were shocking. The fourth, far larger, far more complex, demonstrates a terrifying principle. The Americans' industrial machine scales with speed, manpower, and foresight. Nothing is too big, too damaged, too impossible. The POWs watch as the Radford finishes minor adjustments on her deck, engines roaring confidently, and then moves aside to make room for the new arrival. Sparks from welding torches shower like fireworks, and for a moment, Friedrich can almost hear the hum of the entire shipyard as a single living entity. Westermann mutters, voice almost trembling. We've fought battles, we've seen fire and death, but this is different. This is not war. This is inevitability. Friedrich tightens his grip on the fence. He can almost feel the pulse of the harbor. Cranes swinging, engines humming, torches hissing, sparks flying, a rhythm so precise it borders on the unnatural. The fourth ship's engines cough to life under careful testing. Flames roar from her stacks. Engineers call out numbers. Gauges flicker to life, and the hull flexes as if awakening from a nightmare. Friedrich watches in disbelief. She is moving. She is alive, even before her structural repairs are complete. A young POW, barely 19, whispers, voice shaking. We cannot fight this. Not ever. Friedrich doesn't answer. He cannot. The weight of the realization is too heavy. Germany's battles, her strategy, her courage, it all pales against the relentless rhythm of a nation capable of repairing, rebuilding, and redeploying ships faster than any enemy can destroy them. Westermann steps back, jaw tight, eyes wide. If this is the standard, if this is what America can do, the war is no longer a contest of courage or tactics. It's a contest of industry, of scale, of speed. The POWs fall silent, watching the impossible unfold. The cranes lower massive frames into the cruiser's hull. Sparks flare, engines roar. Workers guide enormous prefabricated sections into place as if they were weightless. Systems are tested simultaneously. Electrical, hydraulic, engines, guns. Every action is precise, measured, unstoppable. Friedrich swallows, heart pounding. The truth strikes him harder than any torpedo. The Americans are not just repairing ships. They are demonstrating a capability that Germany cannot match. A system that cannot be beaten, a war they cannot hope to win. And then, as if to underline the point, a distant horn sounds. The first fully repaired destroyer, the O'Bannon, sails past the fourth ship, engines roaring, bow cutting clean water. Friedrich watches her glide effortlessly, the embodiment of a system no enemy could hope to overcome. Mattis whispers almost inaudibly, we are watching the future, and we have no part in it. Friedrich feels the truth settled in his chest like iron. The scale, the speed, the coordination, it is unimaginable. The fourth ship, the largest yet, continues to rise from the docks, sections sliding into place, systems coming alive. And then, as Friedrich leans closer to the fence, he sees movement on the far pier. A fifth ship, heavily damaged, being prepared for the same impossible process. The POWs stiffen. Their disbelief deepens. Friedrich swallows hard, eyes wide. It never stops, he mutters. Westermann turns, voice shaking. We are not fighting a navy. We are witnessing the full power of a nation that cannot be defeated by bullets or torpedoes. And in that frozen moment, Friedrich realizes something even more terrifying. The Americans are about to demonstrate, for the first time, the full scale of their industrial might, and the Germans will witness a feat no sailor in history has ever imagined on October 24th, 1943, 8:42 m. The POWs stand frozen against the fence, eyes wide and throats tight, as the fifth ship, a heavily damaged light cruiser, is towed into the dock. Its bow is mangled, hull warped, and decks scorched black from fire and battle. Friedrich's stomach twists. He has seen 3, now 4 ships revived before his eyes. But this seems beyond human capacity. Yet the Americans do not hesitate, not for a second. Cranes pivot with calm precision. Welders ignite torches. Engineers dash across decks, checking, adjusting, testing. Prefabricated sections, pre-cut, labeled, and ready, begin sliding into place. Beams, bulkheads, even entire staircases move as if by magic, guided by dozens of workers acting in perfect synchronization. Westerman presses a hand to his forehead. We've seen 4 miracles. Now this is the 5th. Mattis whispers, voice trembling. It's endless. They don't stop. They never stop. Friedrich swallows hard. The magnitude of what he is seeing finally hits him. The Americans have created a machine of war powered not by guns, but by manpower, coordination, and speed. Every ship, no matter the damage, will be returned to combat in days, not months. Every vessel is reborn, ready for deployment faster than Germany can destroy. The first prefabricated midship section is lowered into the cruiser's hull. Sparks flare. Friedrich and the other POWs flinch. Within minutes, the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th sections are in place. Workers climb along the decks, welding, aligning, adjusting, all at once. The synchronization is breathtaking, terrifying, impossible. Friedrich's pulse races. He glances at the O'Bannon and Radford, now slicing through the harbor in perfect formation. They are proof of what the Americans can accomplish in days. The 5th ship, even larger and more damaged, is about to be reborn in the same miraculous rhythm. A young POW whispers, barely audible, they cannot be stopped. Westermann turns slowly, eyes wide. No nation can match this. Not Germany, not anyone. Friedrich watches as the cruiser's engines roar to life. Flames burst from the stacks, smoke curling into the sky. The hull flexes and settles as though awakening from a deep wound. Sparks continue to fly from welding torches. Engineers call out instructions. Systems are tested. Hydraulics, electrical, propulsion. Every detail works. Every action is perfect. Mattis swallows hard. They planned this before it was needed. Every plate, every bolt, already. Friedrich nods slowly, realization settling like ice in his chest. The Americans are not reacting to war. They are anticipating it. Damage is irrelevant. Loss is irrelevant. Speed, preparation, and industrial rhythm are the true weapons. Then a blast from the cruiser's horn cuts through the morning air. The repaired ship moves forward, engines humming, bow slicing clean through the water. Friedrich watches, unable to breathe, as the vessel stabilizes, turns, and tests her guns, all in perfect sequence. Westerman mutters under his breath, voice trembling. This is not repair. This is domination. Friedrich swallows hard, eyes fixed on the dock, and then he sees it, a new arrival. Another vessel, already scarred and battered from the Pacific, being maneuvered toward the docks. The Americans do not flinch, not even a pause. Friedrich leans closer to the fence, heart pounding. He finally understands the truth, the full scale of what the POWs have been witnessing. This is a system, not a repair yard, a machine of unmatched efficiency, a force that cannot be outrun, outgunned, or outlasted. Mattis whispers, voice shaking. We can't fight this. Not in battle, not in dockyards. Friedrich nods, swallowing hard. No, we are witnessing the future of war, and it is unstoppable. The 5th ship's massive prefabricated sections are guided into place with breathtaking precision. Sparks fly, engines roar, and within hours she is ready to sail. The POWs watch in stunned silence. One by one, the other damaged vessels are prepared for repair, following the same unstoppable rhythm. Friedrich takes a step back, heart pounding. The scale, the speed, the precision, it is more than human comprehension. He looks at Westermann. This is war fought in a way we never imagined. Not by guns, not by tactics, but by a nation moving as one. Westermann swallows hard, and we are powerless to stop it. Friedrich glances across the harbor at the countless cranes, prefabricated sections, and hundreds of workers moving in perfect unison. Another damaged ship is arriving, and the POWs realize the horrifying truth. This rhythm never stops. It cannot be slowed. It cannot be defeated. A horn blasts from the 5th ship. Engines roar. Sparks shower the decks. The Americans move with unwavering determination. Friedrich presses his forehead against the fence, breathing shallow, realizing the full weight of what he has seen. And in that moment, he knows the war is no longer just being fought on the battlefield. It is being fought in docks, factories, and the relentless rhythm of industry itself. And Germany cannot compete. Not now, not ever. The POWs fall silent, their minds racing, hearts pounding, as yet another vessel approaches the docks, signaling the next demonstration of American industrial might. Friedrich swallows hard. They will never stop, not ever. The sun rises fully over the bay. The ships gleam in the morning light. Sparks fly, engines roar, and Friedrich realizes with a cold certainty that what he is witnessing will change the course of the war forever.